Good evening. I'm going to call the Finance and Governance Committee to order for October 24, 2023. And Madam Clerk, roll call and posting to the agenda.
Chair Tehran, sorry. Member Tehran,
I'm here, thank you.
Chair Zaragoza,
Here.
motion pass. We have a quorum.
And Councilwoman Basua is going to
And
excuse
Councilmember
absence.
Basua is absent, right?
She's going to excuse absent. Thank you.
And then the agenda for this meeting was posted on the City Hall Bulletin Board on October 17, 2023.
Okay, thank you. So please join me in saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, we're now on item B. Do we have any speakers for public comments not on the agenda?
Chair Zaragoza, we have no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Thank you. Then item C is consent. This is City Clerk Department, subject approval of the minutes. Recommendation that the Finance and Governance Committee approve the minutes of September 26, 2023, regular meeting as presented. Councilmember, any concerns on this item?
No concerns, Mayor. I'll move to accept the minutes as presented.
And I'll second that. Let's vote.
Motion passes 2-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Our next item is reports D1. This is Community Development Department, Commercial Cannabis Financial Auditing Services Agreement with Venue Insights and Analysis LLC. Recommendation that the Finance and Governance Committee recommend that the City Council approve and authorize the Mayor to execute a 3-year agreement number 324018 with Venue Insights and Analytics LLC, Venue, in the amount not to exceed $570,000 for commercial cannabis financing services. And this was a Measure M pre-recorded presentation, and we have, Mallory. Any questions on this?
Mayor and Council Member Tran, if I can just provide a couple talking points, if that would be permissible. First off, I wanted to let you know we have Chris Willis with Avenue, Insights Avenue, who is the recommended consultant to be hired, or firm, to be hired to conduct the cannabis auditing. We're happy to have him answer questions and have him on call in the event you have something you'd like to check with him on or talk with him about. I also just wanted to mention that we did notice a mathematical error on slide 8, page 46 of the PDF regarding the 15% calculation, and we will update that within both the staff report and the PowerPoint when we go to publish the council report for November.
Okay.
And just that we're happy to have the item before you, and this is a follow-up item from the council's approval of the FACT, as we call them, the compliance fees, firearms, alcohol, cannabis, and tobacco, which occurred in July of this year. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so this the auditing has, according to our city code, OCCC, it allows us to go ahead and audit every year, right, for the operations and of all commercial cannabis businesses. And this is an annual basis has to be done.
Correct, Mayor. This is annually pursuant to the ordinance.
And also I noticed it's a 5-year, is what you're looking for, with 2 1-year extensions. In the first year, 22,838, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
That's and then the additional 15%, which will update
The 15%.
that. Yeah. Yep.
For slide number 8. And I personally don't have any other questions in the council member. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Mallory, for the information. I just have a couple questions on this one, and it's really just so that it's clear for this committee and for the public as this, if this moves past the committee to the city council, so that this is on the record. Looking at this particular item in front of us, when we have auditing, you already mentioned it's been written into the ordinance ahead of time that this is a process that would be coming down the pipeline. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so this is not unknown to the applicants who are in the process of, who've already opened shop or are in the process of getting permitted to open, correct?
Correct, and they've been conditioned to pay this fee.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And I'm hoping that you can also give some insight, just kind of a little bit more globally. Is this auditing practice, is this common for other cities in California in this industry?
Mayor and Councilmember Tran, yes, this is. So the requirement in our ordinance for the annual auditing is a best practice from what our original consultant recommended, the one who helped us develop the cannabis program. And this is commonly done in Ventura County and other counties in terms of the auditing. One point I will raise is that we continue to work with the applicants and we continue to look at the overall program to see, does it make sense? Is this something that we're going to continue to recommend going forward? It's in the ordinance now. We think it's a good best practice. We'd like to get some lessons learned under our belt in terms of the audit and just looking at it if there is any discrepancies in revenues. So at this time, we are advancing the requirement for annual auditing pursuant to the ordinance.
Okay, thank you for that. I think that's really good information for this committee and the council and the public to know that this is not unique to the city of Oxnard. It seems to be a best practice within the industry. And one thing I had thought about leading into this meeting too is that it's not even unique to finance in general, where this committee just a few months ago had an auditing item come before us in looking at some of our other areas of finance to see if there's any other revenue that is unrealized that we need to recognize. So it seems like it's another kind of financial practice we have with this industry, correct?
Correct, Councilmember Tran.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for the information on that. Those are all my questions.
And I think the transparency is really important that we do that. In my understanding, you had several people or companies or agencies that applied and if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Venue was the one that came on top.
Correct, Mayor. Yes, we had 7 proposals, and Avenue is the firm that we selected, recommending, yes.
So then it's broken down over 5 years potentially, for 3 years, and then 2 additional 1 year, if depends on how it goes.
Correct, with a locked rate, which we were happy to negotiate on behalf of the city for a 5-year locked fixed fee and $7,500 for the audit.
And by the way, it's a good report. It was a really good report.
Mayor.
Thank you so much.
Matt's doing so. Thank you, Matt Simpkins.
You did a really good job, Councilmember?
Yes, thank you again for that. Just one last quick question. While we're on this item today around cannabis, I know specific to the auditing item that's in front of us, and Mr. Rozelle can stop me if we're not allowed to do this, but I'm wondering if we could just get a very brief update on where our cannabis outlets are as far as opening is. I think we have 5 that are open as of now. Is that correct? 6? 7? Okay, I'll let Ms. Mallory update on that. Thank you.
No worries. Yes, Councilmember Tran, if that's allowed through the attorney.
And I'm just going to ask that, can we do that?
For a minute or 2 update, that is acceptable within the parameters of the Brown Act.
Thank you.
Okay.
So as of today, we have 7 cannabis business permits open for retail, and then 7 are currently in the building permit process and are in the process of constructing their tenant improvements. And we also have 2 remaining applicants that are in plan check. So we're doing a good job of moving them through. We meet with them quarterly to see how they're doing, to get suggestions from them, to answer questions. We've been getting quarterly revenue projections and payments from those that are there already open. So we have that data, and the program, we're really happy with it. It's going well, and we're the cultivation that council approved will be in, that ordinance will be effective on November 18th, and we'll begin that that process of developing the application forms and initiating that solicitation. In terms of and that was all regarding retail. In terms of manufacturing and distribution, we have a number of applicants in, well, one actually, I think, in plan check under on the manufacturing end. Correct me if I'm wrong. And we continue to monitor those applications and that process to ensure that the questions are answered and that everything moves through smoothly.
Okay.
Yeah, and we just got a report on that too, which I think is, by the way, I'm sorry. Go
Well,
ahead.
I was just going to say, I appreciate the monthly updates on that. And
That's
I think my last monthly update showed us at 5, but I could be wrong if it was 7. I'm glad to hear that we have them moving through the process. And I'll just kind of put a bow on this by saying all of the updates you gave us, these are all subject to this auditing process. Is that correct?
Yes, they are, yes. And also, we do keep our website up to date constantly. So when you get an update on a monthly basis, November 1st will be your next one. That is also going to the website so that the public is informed and everyone knows what's going on.
Great, thank you. Did that last question satisfy us, Mr. Rosell, that I connected it back? See what I did there? So, all right, thank you again. Those are my questions.
And again, yeah, thank you for the report. And I know we receive those reports, on a monthly basis, which I think is good for our purposes. That way, the public asks us, at least we have it in front of us. Thank you for good job.
Thank you.
All right, well, I'm willing to move to.
Excuse me.
Oh, excuse me, yes.
And any speakers virtually or in person?
No, we have no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Thank you. So,
I will move for the recommended action.
okay, and I'll second that. Please vote.
Motion passes 2-0.
Thank you again. Our next item is D2. This is Community Development Department, and subjects revision to the Planning Commission rules and regs, bylaws. Recommendation that the Finance Governance Committee recommend that the City Council approve the Planning Commission proposed revisions and Planning Commission rules and procedures and bylaws with the staff recommendations, staff changes. And again, this was a pre-recorded under Measure M when Jeff Pengali is the person involved with it. So, any Jeff or Joe, who's
Yes, Mayor. Again, this is a update to the Platinum Commissioner's bylaws. So again, here if there are any questions, and then we do have
a speaker on this item. Yeah.
Yes, who's here to speak on behalf of the commission.
Ron, you want to speak now or go ahead? Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Zaragoza, Councilmember Turan. My name is Ronald Arwejo. I'm currently the chair of the Planning Commission. However, I come to you more so as the chair of the Bylaw Subcommittee. As a reminder, I was approved by the Planning Commission to represent them and will do so to the best of my ability. First off, I want to thank fellow Commissioner Daniel Chavez, who as chair appointed me to the Bylaw Subcommittee along with himself, and Catherine Connolly for serving alongside me on the subcommittee. Also to former manager Scott Colwitz, Commission Secretary Dee Lai, who is before us now, and Attorney Ken Rosell, and again at present, Manager Joe Pearson and Director Jeff Pengley at presently right now. As you can see from the number of meetings and list of proposed changes, the subcommittee was extremely in-depth in analyzing and formulating the best processes going forward, with a mixture of more experienced and new commissioners, along with different topic areas, government from Daniel Chavez, the private sector, Catherine Connolly, and nonprofit and educational from myself. With those experiences in utilizing Robert's rules, I believe that both the subcommittee and the Planning Commission got this right. Again, representing the Planning Commission, we agree with and appreciate most of the staff recommendations, both minor in nature and substantive changes. Except for some of the staff recommendations in Rule 7B1, in particular subsection C of the time limitations. We request that the removal of section C be struck from the staff recommendations for two particular reasons. The Planning Commission needs sufficient time to review, and we believe that without the time limitations, we will not be able to give its due diligence that the public deems or foresees that we are able to have. And also it gives them a more realistic likelihood to the public that the Planning Commission will actually be able to review. For example, a counter, or for an example, evidence for that is when documents are given to us right during the meeting, it can't conceivably be seen that the Planning Commission will be able to construe everything that's within it and again give it its analyzation in our deliberations.
Is that because of the timing issue, or?
Really, it's when they give it to us, we technically don't have time to look at it. And so some think that we're able to look at it. Maybe we do, but we might be too quick and come to a wrong conclusion. And so, at least in opinion of the Bylaws Subcommittee and the Planning Commission, we think that this will give a more realistic expectation for both the Planning Commission and for the public at hand. And thank you very much, and that's all my comments. Appreciate it.
And Joe or Jeff, what is staff's recommendation on the proposed or recommended change, or maybe our city attorney?
Yes, I'll start with that process. First, we really appreciate all the hard work of the planning commissioners. We spent 6 or 7 meetings of the subcommittee going over this, so they are to be commended for their hard work. And I think overall it's an excellent document. The concerns of the city attorney's office on these particular provisions is that it could have First Amendment issues because it limits the amount of written testimony that can be presented. Just like the Supreme Court has held that dollars are speech in the Citizens United case, here words are speech. And it is common that there are letters presented at the night of a hearing, and to limit it to 1-page maximum of a particular font size with spacing and margins. While I fully understand, I've been the recipient of massive document dumps during my career, including thousands of pages. But the one point I think it's important to remember, there is a recent appellate case that indicated that to the extent that a developer, applicant, or opponent does a major document dump on the night of the hearing, that information can be either disregarded or discounted because they've had a chance to submit that earlier, and it's not conceivable, as Chair Araujo indicated, that a commission or city council could review all that information that night. But we recommend that the changes be made as indicated, because we don't want to risk the planning commission, and or city council's decisions being put at risk by limiting the speech of members of the public, developers, et cetera.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, so the recommendation is not to follow the commissioner's recommendation.
On this particular point,
issue.
That's one that we believe has issues. But once again, I want to commend the commission for their hard work. Yeah. These are great bylaws, really well done work, and by the commission and by the subcommittee in particular.
And I also want to commend the commission for, boy, this is a tremendous amount of work. You've been working for, a year or so on this item. So I really commend you because it's a tremendous amount of work, so. Councilmember.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to Chair Araujo for his comment and for the work on this along with the rest of the subcommittee. Just as a follow-up to the question that was just raised by the mayor and the comment from the chair, I appreciate the explanation, Mr. Rozelle, on that. That does put some good perspective on it as far as trying to avoid even the perception that we would be limiting speech of the public. I believe I heard you say this, and I just want to confirm that there is case law that does allow the commission, if the night of the meeting or during the meeting, someone brings a document that's 56 pages long and says, this is important information you need to consider, it's at the discretion of the commission to say, well, you know, this should have been submitted to us by the date and time that's identified on the agenda, and it can't be considered reasonable for us to review this right now and consider it all in our time we have. Is that correct?
The focus of the appellate decision was to discount the document dump of thousands and thousands of pages. So the court, you know, once again, as with most court opinions, there's not a bright line that, you know, you can, it has to be by a date certain, but there's a clear authority that to the extent that the documents are dumped the day of, you do the best you can. Maybe you take a recess. I dealt with a Walmart distribution center in the last city I worked at where they continued the public hearing so the consultants could look at those documents that when the inevitable document up by, in this case, the union attorneys happened, we were able to provide, you know, appropriate responses. But we just want to ensure that we don't place landmines for the city in this. But Councilmember Tron, to answer your question specifically, if there's that massive document dump, yes, they are not superhuman. You cannot read 10,000 pages, you know, in 5 minutes. So clearly, or complicated studies are the things which should have been presented during, for example, if there's an EIR, during the environmental review process, during the public comment period. So it's in bad faith in that situation to provide information that could have been provided during that public comment period.
Okay, thank you. And you did mention something that I was going to ask about next, where it's also within the commission's discretion to, within reason, they could take a recess and say, we would really like to see what was just presented to us in written form, and we would like to take some time to review this, and we'd like to take a 10-minute, 15-minute recess. If it's reasonable to do so, is that within their discretion?
Absolutely, and as I mentioned before, sometimes it's even reasonable to say we can't make a decision tonight because there's all this information. We're going to continue it, you know, to a date certain, so we can have a chance to review that. So there are options to ensure and you know that there's fair review of evidence that is presented.
Okay, I think that's fair.
And that does not violate the First Amendment right, I think is what you were saying.
Correct.
I think that's important to understand that.
Right. I mean, it is pretty standard. Not that, as your attorney, I like it, but it is pretty standard for attorneys to drop a letter on the night of a hearing, raising new issues, and that's unfortunately a standard technique of our profession.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just to kind of wrap this one up here, looking at the items that have strike-throughs but were requested by the subcommittee, I would imagine that while we wouldn't require that of folks, it certainly is a considerate move from folks to be succinct in their written comments if they have the ability to do so. Just knowing that if they deliver it to the commissioners or the city council, that there's a number of items that have to be reviewed leading into any agenda item. And so if a member of the public or someone who has an interest in an agenda item for the commission would like to make a written comment, it seems reasonable to infer on their end, I should make it succinct and something that's digestible to the commission rather than thousands of pages of a document that I'm giving them the last minute. So that's just a comment on that.
Yes, sir.
One last question, something that caught my attention in the staff report in the presentation was around the conduct of members of the public during the meeting and possible removal of a member of the public from a meeting. And am I correct that the one change to that section within the rules and the bylaws is the change of the word shall to may? Was there any other discussion or other changes for that?
Joe?
To Councilmember Tron, no, that was the only change. It just was changed to soften the language a little bit, to provide a little bit more flexibility. Still provides the option to have a person removed, but again, just softens that language a little bit.
As opposed to shall, yeah. That makes
Yes.
sense.
Thank you. And I just wanted to state that just so that it's clear for the public and for the record that the change that the Planning Commission Subcommittee made was actually to soften that language and allow members of the public additional opportunities to continue to participate, even if they are disruptive or have to be reminded of decorum during the meeting. So I appreciate their insight and willingness to provide yet another opportunity for members of the public to fall in line and be able to participate in the meeting. So, and those are my questions.
Thank you. Joe, any additional comments you might want to share with us?
Mayor, no, not at this time.
And again, Jeff, Joe, and Ken, excellent job. That's a lot of work, Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Chair. Thank you. So, motion
Yes, I will move to accept the recommended changes.
in a second. Madam Clerk, any additional speakers or virtually or in person?
Chair Zaragoza, there's no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Okay, so we have a first by Councilor Trun, second by Zaragoza. Please vote. Okay.
Motion passed 2-0.
Thank you. Item E, Councilman, any items for future agendas?
None at this time, Mayor, no. Thank you.
Okay, if not, we are adjourned. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.